Olá, meus amigos, bem-vindos ao Conversas da Alma. Hoje vamos conversar com o terapeuta americano, cujo nome espiritual é Annirudhan, e a Gautami, que é a sua esposa. O Annirudhan é o terapeuta e mestre que irá realizar um workshop em Angels Rock, no centro de retiros fantástico que existe perto da região de Tomar, onde o Conversas da Alma está a organizar os seus retiros especiais de fim de semana. Este vai ser um dos retiros mais completos que estamos a organizar e vai ser, sem dúvida, uma oportunidade única para se purificarem das energias nocivas da cidade, reconectarem-se com a vossa essência e equilibrarem-se e curarem-se. Nesta entrevista com a Annirudhan e a Gautami, iremos viajar no seu percurso espiritual surpreendente que passou por viver com os índios numa tribo onde aprendeu muitos segredos iniciáticos que mudaram a sua consciência e a sua vida, tornando-o num terapeuta que transforma positivamente a vida das pessoas. Esta entrevista está também disponível na íntegra no nosso canal oficial em conversasdaalma.tv. Lembrem-se também de apoiar o nosso canal com donativo se gostam do nosso trabalho e podem fazê-lo por transferência bancária para a conta do canal que está por baixo da descrição do vídeo. Lembrem-se também de colocar um like e é bastante importante partilhem este vídeo com os vossos amigos. Os nossos episódios mais polémicos estão disponíveis apenas no nosso canal oficial em conversasdaalma.tv. Para quem está no YouTube, vá ao nosso canal oficial e assista na íntegra a muitas entrevistas e vídeos interessantes e fora do sistema. O nosso convidado Annirudhan pode ser melhor descrito como uma criança índigo, uma semente estelar, yogi e um curador espiritual. Dedicou a sua vida às artes de cura e medicina natural, é amante de desportos radicais, teve sérios problemas na coluna e mais tarde conseguiu curar-se com Hatha Yoga. Aos 19 anos, começou a trabalhar como massoterapeuta e foi iniciado em Reiki. Tornou-se instrutor certificado de Hatha Yoga no final dos anos 80 e estudou a ciência da respiração e da meditação. É aluno há 35 anos sob a orientação do grande mestre humanitário e espiritual Amrita Ananda Mai e viveu no seu ashram na Índia mais de 6 anos. Em 2001 iniciou a sua carreira em Vortex Healing, tornou-se praticante da terapia de biorressonância L-9 e em 2007 criou a Divine Diamond Healing. Tem certificado em decodificação biológica e em 2020 formulou uma síntese do conhecimento adquirido na sua vida, na sua obra ESP, Sistemas de Força e Percepção de Energia. Viveu também com os xamanes nativos americanos, onde praticou e aprendeu técnicas iniciáticas de cura e conexão. E vamos ter o prazer de trabalhar com o Annirudhan e a Gautami no retiro de fim de semana, sábado e domingo, dias 29 e 30 de abril, em Angels Rock, perto da região de Tomar, onde o Annirudhan e a Gautami vão partilhar e treinar convosco as várias técnicas iniciáticas de respiração, meditação, cura energética e muitas outras ferramentas que eles irão explicar nesta entrevista. Deixaremos os contactos para inscrição neste retiro transformador de fim de semana, dias 29 e 30 de abril, por baixo da descrição do vídeo. Lembrem-se, inscrevam-se já, reservando o vosso lugar. Vamos agora conhecer os nossos convidados, Annirudhan e Gautami. Bem-vindos ao Conversas da Alma.
Thank you.
Eu hoje vou falar um pouco, aqui uma miscelânea de português e inglês, né, porque o Annirudhan é americano e ainda não fala fluentemente o português. Portanto, vocês vão nos desculpar, mas nós vamos ter que adaptar de alguma maneira esta conversa, que vai variar entre o português e o inglês, neste caso mais americano, não é? É um sotaque diferente, ligeiramente diferente, que eu por acaso até prefiro, mas pronto, isso é outra história. Comecemos aqui pelo Annirudhan. How did you start your spiritual life? Because you were a practitioner
Yeah.
of sports, radical sports,
Yeah.
and you did like a strong. You create a very big problem in your spine, and that's lead you to make yoga, to learn yoga and heal yourself through the yoga. And I think it was that way probably that lead you to wake up spiritually, to be awake spiritually. Was that happened? Só agora deixem-me só traduzir isto. O que eu perguntei ao Annirudhan foi que ele foi praticante de desportos radicais e fez uma lesão na coluna. E então, não sei se terá sido isso que o levou à busca espiritual do conhecimento para se curar e depois, posteriormente, as coisas foram acontecendo e sucedendo-se. Mas vamos ver se realmente foi isso que aconteceu. So, Annirudhan, tell us your story about what happened when you're in your spine and if your spiritual life started before that problem.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's very nice to meet you all. And, you know, my spiritual life started when I was 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, could imagine.
So,
like a stellar seed,
yeah. So, I mean, I pretty much, when I was like 5 years old, because of synchronicities, after some extraordinary childhood experiences that my mother and my brothers and sisters witnessed, you know, they started taking me to special places and churches and,
of course,
and priests and spiritual teachers. You know, my mother knew that I was a little different than her other children because I had a very strong spiritual connection. You know, there were things that happened around me that would be very unusual. So when I was young, after, you know, it was obvious that, and you know, I had experiences that were extraordinary. There was one particular teacher that came to me through my mother that, you know, it was arranged that he should talk to me. So, you know, he walked with me out in nature and I was like 5 years old. He said to me, you know, there are 2 paths in life. There is the spiritual path and there's the material path.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, you know, the material path can bring you fame and fortune and, you know, prestige and all the material comforts you could ever want. And he says, that's the easy path. And he said, you know, then there is the spiritual path. And he said, it's the most difficult. But he said, the spiritual path will lead you to inner peace and contentment, which you will never find in the material path.
Of course.
And as a 5-year-old, he just, you know, looked at me as a child and he says, which path do you choose? And I immediately said, the spiritual path. I knew that it was the spiritual path. So he just said, you know, he just advised me that to be aware that this choice is going to be the most difficult choice that I've ever made. And that was how it started. Yes.
It's how you started your spiritual awareness.
Yes. And I mean, other than, again, from that point and even before that, my life would be described as full of synchronicities. You know, the people I met, extraordinary. The ones that came to me, the experiences I had, the things people said, the teachings, you know. And my mom was very supportive because she also had a gift. So she was very, very supportive. My family was more traditional and material. And so they weren't, you know, we never went to church. I was never taken. I mean, they took me a few times, but they would not return me because I would say, Jesus didn't say that. That's not what, you know. And I would actually interrupt the priests. And I was really, and basically I would get almost like, my mother would be extremely embarrassed because I would challenge and say, no, that's not what Jesus says, you know. I was just this little kid. But I knew Jesus before when I saw his picture, I knew him. I mean, so it was sort of like that. I had this extraordinary knowing of things without knowing. And then
after that, you had
well, there's many things.
Sports,
well, of course.
I mean, problem
yeah,
in your spine.
Yeah. So I mean, I was very physically athletic and strong. I was stronger. You know, I was incredibly strong as a kid. You know, it's very interesting because I grew up, when I was born, there were still black and white TV.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, you know, at a time when even the channels on TV, we only had like 12.
Wow.
Right. So that was it.
It's a lot. We had only one.
Yeah. So, and even those 12, I'm not sure if we got all 12, but the main thing is there was no more than that on the TV. And then, you know, the things I watched, the things I saw, you know, the influences I had, you know, everything was very unusual. So I was drawn to, you know, physical, acrobatic and athletic things. And, you know, I received the teaching, you know, the reason I got into sports is that I was very interested in Bruce Lee.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
you know, and I was very interested in many, you know, specific things that I found extraordinary, what I could see and what I could hear. So they just were saying, you know, to me that if you want to master your mind, first master your body. So when I was a kid at a very young age, I immediately was like, okay, because I wanted to master my mind, but that was not easy. And that's what they said. So I got into extreme sports and, you know, very athletic. And it was because I realized, okay, let me master my body. And then let's see what I can do after that. So that was the influence.
The engine behind your awareness.
Yeah.
Awareness, like conscious spiritual awareness.
Yeah. So that was something that then caused me to do, you know, again, extreme things. And also people had a tendency, knowing I was a daredevil and I would do little crazy things as a young kid, you know, they sometimes would tell me to do things knowing I'm going to get hurt. So, you know, it was a pretty brutal world we grew up in most cases. So I definitely received some injuries and
you learn how to heal it.
Well, yeah, okay. So the serious injury I had, I never went to doctors. I never told anyone, and I was in extraordinary pain. So most of my life, the pain got to such a point that it was debilitating, and that's when I finally had to go to a doctor. And, you know, the doctors, and, you know, I went to 3 different doctors and they told me that they had to do surgery on my back and that I wouldn't walk when I was 30. I'd have to have a cane if they didn't do the surgery, and, you know, that I would never be able to heal from this. My back was permanently damaged. So my mom was like, no way. And I just said, no way. And so I just lived with the pain, to a point where, you know, again, I was already extremely spiritual. My church was outdoors, was nature. You know, before I ever got into yoga, I used to spend days in nature. My mom trusted me like anything, so she never supervised me. She let me go into the wilderness by myself as a kid. It was in a time when there was still a safeness. Yeah. We never locked our house. We never locked our car.
That's amazing.
I grew up where doors were never locked. We never closed anything. There was no reason. And even the cars, we wouldn't lock our cars.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it was like, you know, not that that didn't change, but at least when I grew up, that was what it was like. So being very connected with nature and having many extraordinary experiences, there was a point where the pain was debilitating, and that's when that's when a yogic master, I found a yogic master. And this is in the day, again, you know, there was no internet, there was no advertising, there was no way to look this guy up. He had nothing, he just was there teaching. I found him, and the very first class I did, immediately I knew that was it. So I dedicated myself at that point to that yoga like nobody could ever imagine. I did it completely 100%. Very quickly, he saw that I was excelling, and so he trained me under his wing. He took me in and trained me under his wing, and in the process, you know, I was able to literally heal my spine. I had a 27-degree scoliosis. I had my spine was incredibly curved. I straightened the entire thing out. I did things doctors today would tell me, that's not your x-rays. These are not your x-rays. And I'd say, yeah, they are. And he says, there's no way. They literally would have no way to imagine how the spine I have today could be the spine that is in these x-rays.
Amazing.
So that teacher eventually took me in and gave me a teacher's training course. He trained me to teach yoga. I became a yoga teacher from there. And there were many, many other things, but that was the thing that really showed me the power of yoga and breath practice.
Yes. And that's something that you're going to teach also
Yes.
to our students in this retreat.
Yes.
Weekend retreat in
Yes.
Angels Rock.
Yes.
E agora vamos falar um bocadinho aqui com a Gautami. Agora vamos falar em português, porque a Gautami fala português. Portanto, vamos falar aqui um pouco com a Gautami e perguntar a Gautami quais são as tuas habilidades, assim, como esposa, como mulher, como companheira, como digamos, aquela que acompanha o Annirudhan no seu caminho espiritual também, tem o seu próprio caminho espiritual, obviamente. Quais são as tuas habilidades espirituais? Fala-nos um
já
pouco.
agradeço o convite. Eu, desde que me conheço, tenho uns certos dons. Desde muito pequenina que eu sinto coisas, ouço coisas, tenho premonições de coisas que acontecem. Eu, quando era pequenina, não entendia muito bem isto. Eu pensava que era eu própria com a energia, com a minha energia que fazia com que coisas acontecessem. E os meus pais tiveram um papel muito importante, porque foram, à espera que eu tivesse uma boa guia, porque de facto aquilo mexia dentro de mim. Procuramos médios, iam à casa e que me ensinaram a aceitar esses dons, e perceber que eu
entender esses dons, não é? Entender esses dons.
Que eu, no fundo, acedia a outras realidades e podia usar para poder ajudar.
E foi isso que começaste a fazer? Ou seja, a ajudar as pessoas através do teu acesso às outras dimensões espirituais?
Eu, no início, ficava muito perturbada porque eu conseguia perceber os pensamentos das pessoas, as emoções. Era uma empática natural, então eu tinha que me retirar para o meu quarto e estar ali. Eu fazia Hatha Yoga, os olhos abertos, e meditava pela minha janela, e era assim que eu me conectava e ia para o meu centro novamente. Eu viajava nestas, como é que eu ia explicar, nesta geometria.
Sim.
Entre espaços, que eu nunca consegui meter em palavras. O meu pai comprometeu um jogo que era sobre...
Tu não és portuguesa, ou és?
Eu sou portuguesa.
És portuguesa, é que tens um sotaque.
Eu sou do norte.
Então é isso. Então é que há aquele sotaque entre o americano e o norte. Sim.
Pronto.
Okay.
E eles tiveram um impacto muito grande, porque realmente eu tinha essa habilidade. Inclusivamente eu conseguia comunicar com além, com pessoas que já partiram, desde muito pequena, que isso já não acontece, porque hoje em dia já não precisamos disso, porque temos a comunicação direta, mas na altura a energia era essa. Neste momento nós temos a comunicação, como estamos agora aqui a falar, temos essa comunicação. Isso acontece muito naturalmente em mim, não é quando posso estar em sessões ou posso estar a cozinhar, e eu tenho insights aqui do mundo, seja do...
Quais foram os insights que tiveste sobre mim? Tu não conhecias quando nós falámos para a entrevista. Já agora vamos desvelar aqui um bocadinho.
O que eu sinto é que tu tens uma inocência muito grande.
Isso
okay. Leva-te a mover-te pelo coração, pelo amor, pela energia, ok? E acho que és impulsivo nisso, ou seja, tu és guiado, tu sentes, não é? Depois pode haver mais outra situação de teres que pensar se realmente é isso, porque se calhar pode haver alguma dúvida, não é? Mas não precisas ter essa dúvida, porque a primeira intuição é aquela que é do coração, mas depois a nossa mente vai tentar...
É isso mesmo, vai tentar enganar-nos, não é?
Tentar sabotar, pronto, foi exatamente isso. Eu tive outras profissões, mas eu, como no Norte, as pessoas são um bocadinho mais fechadas, eu fazia isso muito...
De forma reservada.
Muito reservada.
E privada.
E comecei também a fazer em grupos de médios, como se fosse cirurgias espirituais. Eu recordo-me que eu sentia uma energia entrar dentro de mim e eu fazia operações com o meu dedo. De retirar, não sei explicar.
Miasmas.
Eu até hoje, e vou ser muito honesta, é muito difícil.
Este canal é um canal aberto, fora da caixa.
É muito difícil para mim falar sobre mim, porque no fundo o que eu sinto é que eu me conecto e eu sirvo de instrumento, e a energia simplesmente trabalha. Ou seja, falar sobre isso é complexo, porque não existe palavras
que traduzam essa complexidade espiritual.
Então é sempre muito difícil falar sobre o que eu faço, porque no fundo eu não faço nada, eu simplesmente me conecto e a energia... Pronto,
mas tu trabalhas com a Annirudhan.
Ele trabalha também individualmente, eu trabalho individualmente, sim, e nos workshops tentamos trazer essa complementaridade, não é? Porque ele é muito bom, de facto, com as suas mãos, é muito bom comunicador, e eu fico a transmitir a tal energia como se fossem ativações, e às vezes acontece a linguagem da luz, que eu não consigo ainda, o meu corpo ainda não consegue fazer isso por longos períodos, porque o meu corpo tem que conter uma energia, e eu não consigo, é como se depois de eu manifestar a linguagem da luz, o meu corpo fica... E eu preciso de me tirar, porque ainda não consigo fazer
ser
isso
um veículo
na totalidade durante muito tempo, ok? E praticamente é isso.
É isso, fantástico. Então ajudam-se um ao outro, não é? Nas práticas espirituais que fazem com as pessoas, com os vossos, digamos, praticantes, não é? Os praticantes, porque aliás eles têm um espaço muito bonito na região de Oeiras, não é? Eles mandaram umas fotografias e um vídeo de um espaço muito bonito, muito bem arranjado, com uma ótima energia, vocês poderão conhecer, porque eu depois deixo aqui no vídeo, posso deixar também essa informação. Agora vamos voltar ao nosso amigo Annirudhan e também perguntar-lhe vou primeiro fazer a pergunta em português, para vocês alguns não entendem tão bem, e depois vamos tentar que o Google, portanto, que o tradutor do YouTube consiga fazer a tradução adequada. I'm going to say it all first in English, in Portuguese actually, and then in English, okay? Annirudhan, tu vais usar ferramentas espirituais e conhecimentos iniciáticos que aprendeste, que aprendeste neste nosso retiro de fim de semana de 29 e 30 de abril, em Angels Rock. Quais são as ferramentas mais importantes e conhecimentos que irás partilhar com os participantes? So, you're going to use many tools, spiritual tools, and initiatic knowledge that you've learned before in this retreat in Angels Rock.
Yes.
What are the most important tools and teachings that you're going to share with the participants in this retreat? Desculpem que eu estou a traduzir literalmente do português, portanto eu não preparei isto, foi um bocado improviso, mas pronto, espero que compreendam. So yes. What is your answer about this?
Okay, so most of the practices that I do now, because when I have studied in all the different studies that I have done, in this modern world, the thing that people are missing the most is being grounded.
Ah, okay.
So, you know, I've been, and I have the ability to transmit and to anchor very high level frequencies and energies. So what I found is that many individuals didn't have the grounding capability to really finish the download. It's like putting a download in a computer, but you don't quite get the whole thing downloaded, you know, and you're just a little bit short, and it doesn't work. It doesn't last.
You need to be grounded.
Yes, you need to work on the grounding. So in most of the work that I do now, I realized, you know, with all the energetic gifts I have, that the people were missing that they were really not grounded. Their physical bodies were not grounded. So, and a lot of that has to do with the yogic tradition, is the opening of the pelvic floor. The opening, yes, yes. And the, you know, the body, it's like,
I do that every day.
Yeah, exactly. So the, you know, if we were to look at the body like a computer, you know, the mind is like how many gigs of information that you can store. And the body is like the windows and the operating systems you open. So the body is restoring everything that is going through the processor of the mind. The body is being affected by it, like opening windows on your desktop. And you open more and more and more, but you never clean the desktop. And so ultimately it runs slower and slower and slower. You can't, you know, you can't even get programs to open if you have way too much stuff going on. The system is just inundated. The computer gets hot. It doesn't work right. So what the work that I'm looking at doing, and what I do, is I defrag people. One is energetically, which is one aspect. Defrag, meaning organizing the files. Yeah. But what we do in the work, it's like we have a memory card. And instead of having everything stored in the system, so it's all cluttered up and, you know, it's like most of the memory is full, I will help people to take all those files, organize the files, and also put them in a memory card, get them out of here. Sort of put them in the Akash, like they're never going to lose it. Yeah, they're never going to lose it, but we can get it out of the mind. They don't have to carry it in here, or they don't have to carry it in here. So there are three aspects. We have, again, we have sort of the computer system, we have the body, which is like a storage device, and then we have the web. So we think, okay, you know, the computer can store so many gigs, but the web is huge. The information on the web is huge.
And the web is cosmic.
Yes, and yes, so for me to hook people up to the divine web, they must be grounded. But to do that, you know, we also need to clear the body. We need to clear the system. We need to remove all those memories.
The blockages.
Yeah, and all of the memories that are held in the tissues. Our issues are in our tissues. So obviously we clear a lot of the mechanisms of mind. We open up the body. We open up flows. We clear a lot of the blockages, remove a lot of the trauma. And then that allows the grounding to go deeper.
And that's what we are going to do.
Yeah. That's an energetic example. So when I'm working with breath work, we're really doing cleaning. Yeah. You're moving and opening flows, opening the gates and the channels.
Unblocking the
Yes. And then the yoga and the ESP work, which is a specialized training that I do, the breath work I do.
We're going to talk about later.
Yeah. All that is about opening up the structure of the physical body.
This is the sacred geometry of the body.
Yeah, and actually opening up some of the skeletal, moving bone, moving and readjust. Like, we're very good at holding tension. Yeah. And in the inner core, most of us are very tight in the inner core. And it takes a bit of work to unravel the inner core, to unlock the inner core. So the work I do is about unlocking.
I know that because I was a dancer. So
yeah.
I know perfectly that.
Yeah. So it's great. So I incorporate energetic therapy, breath work, and moving and opening flows of energy, and then again, clearing and opening physical structure. So it's really all three.
Fantástico.
So yes, it's
In this retreat, vamos ter, portanto, todas estas técnicas que o Annirudhan nos vai passar com a ajuda da Gautami. Vamos ter isto neste retiro de dia 29 e 30 de abril em Angels Rock. And what about your experience now that we know a little bit about but we're going to talk of more tools later on. Tell us about your experience of living with the native shamans, American shamans.
okay. So
Tell us a little bit the story.
yes, well, you know, the most important thing is in the time that, you know, I was raised, it was in the non-commercialized aspect. Like when I learned yoga, it was not commercial.
Eu peço desculpa, eu não traduzi isto, esta pergunta. Eu perguntei ao Annirudhan como é que foi a experiência dele viver com os xamãs americanos, os nativos. Desculpa, eu estou aqui assim um bocado entre o inglês e o português. Como é que foi a experiência dele de viver com os nativos americanos, xamãs?
Yes, okay. So again, also shamanism was not commercial like it is today. So then the elders that I met that no longer are living, you know, they were aware that there were no one to pass their knowledge to.
The lineage and the
Yes,
spiritual lineage.
yes. Because there wasn't the interest. I mean, again, you know, so these elders that I met that no longer are here with us.
But I feel the energy when you talk about them.
Yeah.
Like a lot of heat, like
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, they found me.
Here anyway.
Yeah,
We're talking about them.
yeah, they're here, and many, many are here. So they found me, which was very interesting. So again, when this happened in my life, I was not looking to Native American shamanism. I was just living in. I had already very deep into meditation and yoga practices, and I was living in isolation and no electricity.
In which part of America?
Northern California, in the redwood forests.
Wow.
So, you know, I'd already been living in a very austere life, you know, doing many spiritual practices. Again, no electricity, living in a treehouse.
Good.
Yeah.
For the
So
body.
no electrical anything.
Good for the body.
Yeah, no phone, no nothing, and no electrical anything. So you had to do everything by hand. So anyway, it was and I loved it. It was a very simple life in the mountains, and they found me. And at the time when they found me, they said, "We are here," and these were elders. They pulled up anyway. So I mean, they literally drove in my driveway. And in a van, and like 6 of them get out, a few big elders, and the younger ones that took care of them, like people so you had the elders and you had the younger Indians that were sort of there helping the elders. And they pull in my driveway and I walk up wondering, who is this? You know, I'm looking at them and
Who are these people?
yeah. And they get out, you know, and they're walking down my driveway, you know, we're here. I'm like, you're here? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, come in. So, and they stayed. So that was like another one of these synchronicities. They found me, they're here. I'm like, huh, what? I wasn't even looking for shamanism. And then they stayed.
Into the yoga.
I was into the yoga. I was way into the yoga. Yeah. I was into a lot of prayers. I was into, you know, I made rosaries even. I was into Jesus and Mary and rosary and all kinds of amazing things, but I didn't know really that shamanism was going to come into my life. And
then you had a surprise.
yeah. And so, and they basically did stay. And then, you know, they sort of knew who I was, which I found fascinating. And they just
Teach you.
Yeah, they initiated me, taught me, they adopted me immediately, gave me eagle feathers and bear claw. I mean, it was just like, and I was just sitting there like, you know, and then, so it was a very, again, unbelievable time in my life. And I revered them because I knew who they were. I knew they were like myself. We're an endangered species.
Yeah.
You know, what
People like you.
yeah, we're
people
and
like
these natives.
extinct,
Yeah,
extinct,
we're almost extinct. Yes. Yeah. So I was very blessed. And then the things that happened to me around the connection with spirit, they deepened my connection with spirit. How to speak to the wind, the water,
Wow.
the trees.
Are we gonna learn that?
Well, I'm gonna the spirits.
That's deep. That's
Well,
deeply.
I mean, the sensitives.
It takes time. It takes
Yeah,
time.
the sensitives that will come, you know, they will experience, you know, again, the movement of the wind, you know, and again, there's very likely, you know, with certain ceremonies, you know, after
You can
or
reach that.
yeah, or the rain will come, things will happen, lightning will strike. I mean, very unusual things. The wind will blow.
Live entity.
Yeah, these are living.
Live.
Yeah, this is spiritual. So I'm not saying that could happen because these are what the elders showed me. They could do things like that. But I see it in my own work. When certain things are said, wind blows, chimes, birds come, animals come, you know, butterflies.
We have
Yeah.
a lot of animals there.
Yeah,
wildlife. We have wildlife there.
Yeah. So I mean, the nature is, you know, if we can attune, and if, you know, spirit provides, there will be these synchronicities, energetic and you know, and again, spiritual synchronicities. Again, the Native Americans helped me to work with the nature spirits. Not that they hadn't been there with me before, but they connected me to them, you know, again.
And it was another knowledge.
Oh, it was incredible.
Knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think in this one we will be able to do it, but I run an amazing sweat lodge. I was given sweat lodge by the natives. And I will come and build one on your land and show you and do it traditional Native American lodge.
That's what
and so
we got expecting that.
So that'd be a beautiful combination because I'm a star seed. So that means I was born with our star family connection. So I have incredible.
What is your star connection? What is your star connection? Like your family. Andromedans, Pleiadians.
Okay, my most recent, because when you come from the stars, we have quite a history, but my most recent, I would have to say, is the Pleiades.
Oh, the Pleiades.
Yeah, my most recent. But that
I understand what you're saying.
Okay, so they're
but the ancient ones.
Well, again,
what do you think is your ancient lineage? Because we had so many cosmic experiences.
Yes,
right?
yes.
But
I'll leave that for the workshop.
Okay,
I'll leave that for the workshops. But the Pleiadians was the I was involved in the Pleiades very deeply in a process that they went through similar to what we're going through now. The only difference is the Earth is making the change with us, and no other system has ever done that. Human beings have ascended, other species have ascended, but never with a planet. Yeah. This is one of the first times we're going to do it. This is a very special time. So the Earth and the children of Earth, we
are rising to a different vibration.
Yes, together. And this is extraordinary. So again, I have experience with that through the Pleiades, but not again planetarily. So I'm here sort of in that way to help with the transition, to help people raise the vibration, which really, when you talk about ascension, you want to know what we're really talking about here. This is where you ascend.
The heart center.
The heart is the fifth dimension. This is 3D and this is 5D. Now, from here, you can go to any dimension. From here, you'll never go beyond this. But here is the real ascension. So I teach that, you know, your body is the vessel, is the instrument of which you must embody. You must be able to come in and then that will take you everywhere. The entire
expand your
the entire universe is through here. I teach people, some people like to think they're going to go that way. Actually, I teach them more to ground, and then it's not about going up, it's about going in. So it's a little bit different system, but we basically don't look at going up, we look at actually coming in, being connected to the Gaia, Mother Earth, and then going within. And that will take you anywhere in the universe you want to go.
What about your most amazing spiritual experience that you had with them? I'm going to translate in Portuguese. Qual foi a tua experiência espiritual mais surpreendente que tiveste com os índios?
The Native Americans.
Yes. What was the most incredible spiritual experience that you had with this Native American? If you remember.
No, how could you forget? Okay, so the most amazing experience.
You were not expecting this question.
No, the most amazing experience was an amazing elder. We called him Henry Tyler. That was his name, Henry Tyler. And I was in a ceremony with him. It was in a peyote ceremony, because that's the way they do their church.
Oh, it's with peyote.
That's the way they do their church. They do the church with peyote ceremonies.
O peyote é cato com propriedades
de and again, it's very, it's incredible, it's beautiful, and there's details that I'm not here to share. But the key is it's a very amazing way that the elders set the teepee and the altar, and they're sitting there, and you go all night long. So that means you go in right at sunset and you don't come out until after sunrise. And if depending on the ceremony, what the energy is, you can stay till 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. You don't go outside. They recommend you don't leave the teepee. Obviously, some people do to go urinate, but in most cases, you stay in the whole night. Now, that elder, at a very specific time, he will roll prayer tobacco. So he will roll a prayer tobacco, so a cigarette. And at a very specific time, he will do the prayers right around midnight. So that one ceremony went in, which at night, unusual, is he's rolling the cigarette. A hummingbird comes in the door. Yeah, and flies right in front of him like this. Now, the hummingbird is considered one of the most highest frequencies sacred little birds. And they don't usually come in at midnight, at night. So it came in and then it left. And he lit the prayer right at the right time. And his first puff to the north, lightning came down and struck at the north of the teepee. Everyone in the teepee, it shook the ground and it cracked. There was no difference between the crack of the sound and the hit of the lightning right there behind where he sat. As he did 4 directions and 4 puffs, 4 bolts of lightning hit in each direction on each side of the teepee. And in the morning, there were burn marks in the grass outside the teepee.
Wow.
You could smell the electricity in the earth, the smell. Oh, yeah, and the smell of the earth, burning soil. Because
wow,
that
amazing.
That elder is I don't know if they exist on this earth. He was the sweetest man. He was my mentor. He took me in. He taught me many things. So that's pretty amazing.
Wow, that's really
pretty amazing. I thought the hummingbird was amazing.
Wow.
But the lightning,
goes beyond.
That
goes beyond.
Yeah. And he did 4 to the 8.
I understand that.
That's insane. Yeah.
The real initiators, the real people, the connected ones, the special ones, they are able to transform matter. They are
Yeah.
able to connect with the forces of nature.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
and probably was one of them.
Yeah.
It was one of
Again,
those-
rain would come at certain times. You know, during that one, it was just unbelievable. The wind would blow, the rain would come. I mean, it was just the most amazing thing.
Wow.
You know, I mean, I've seen buffalo come and animals come, and you can hear them, and you can hear them breathing, and they're running around. You know, there are all kinds of things, and there are no buffalo.
Yeah.
There are no buffaloes. There were no horses, but you could hear them breathing, and you could hear them running around
I'm
them.
talking about the spirits of
Yes, but they were physically, you could feel the ground shake. So somehow the manifestation that would occur was physically manifesting in ways the spirit would manifest, like you said, lightning in physical form. It was amazing.
So after this amazing experience,
was...
you're going to teach something. You're going to teach, you're going to use also something, another tool with Gautami, which is Ilibra 9.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Vais utilizar Ilibra 9, é assim que se diz?
Yes.
Ilibra 9. Ilibra 9, biorressonância, que vais utilizar no Retiro em Angels Rock nesse fim de semana.
Okay.
What is this Ilibra 9?
Okay,
Bioresonance.
Yes, I'm at two stories a little bit, but when I was studying vortex healing, and I also studied that intensely. When I study, usually I throw myself in. So when I do something, I do it 110%.
Yeah, a bit like me.
Yeah. So
intense people.
At that time, I met this man, Victor Sims. And he created and developed the Ilibra 9, which is a bioresonance computer-based healing system. So I had met him, and I had some extraordinary experiences when he shared this with me. And it was using a computer-based technology in bioresonance, which means it would be transmitting like Wi-Fi. You know, your phone picks up signals, and someone can call. Well, this is picking up and working with signals in the same way and transmitting them in a way that the human body is benefited. So it's Wi-Fi. Yeah, it's like
positive Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it exactly is. Yeah, it's a technology. So my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and as soon as I find out that, I went to Victor and bought the Ilibra 9. So immediately I went, because I knew what this thing does. So they said she had 6 months to live. I bought the Ilibra 9. I bought devices that I could put in her bedroom, and I started treating her.
Talking about the tachyon?
No, Ilibra.
Only Ilibra.
Yeah, that's another one. Anyway, but so because my mother had pancreatic cancer, I invested a lot to get the Ilibra to help my mother. Yes. Now, my mother lived for years, and the tumor, which was growing, it just, I wasn't able to get it to disappear, but I was able to improve her quality of life, and she lived for years. And the doctors were actually kind of surprised in what they knew about her level of cancer. And so the Ilibra is a healing instrument that, again, we will be using in workshops. And we will be transmitting frequencies that actually are amazing, and you can receive healing without a human being.
Portanto, vocês no Angels Rock, a Gautami e o Annirudhan vão usar esse Ilibra 9, portanto, esse sistema Ilibra 9, que realmente ajuda na cura quântica, não é?
Yes.
Na cura quântica.
Yes.
Através de sistema de biorressonância.
Yes. So that's amazing. So yes, your body again will be receiving really, really nice frequencies, like 432 hertz and 520, like we know that, but this is done, in a very healing and positive way using the technology, what we call bioresonance, homeopathic frequencies, and all kinds of things.
Fantastic.
Yes.
What about the meditation and healing calibration tachyon divine diamond? Explica-nos também a meditação de cura e calibração tachyon que se chama divine diamond, que vais usar no retiro, that you're going to use in this retreat.
Okay.
So about the diamond, divine diamond tachyon.
Yes. Okay, so
so the people can understand a bit better.
yes. You know, when I was talking about the elder that would be able to do
Henry
prayers,
Tyler.
Henry Tyler, and the lightning would strike. Before I received what I call the birthing of the divine diamond, in a very unusual circumstance, in a very astrologically aligned moment, I was hit with lightning, and it hurt, and it was not the most easy thing.
In your body, in your
I was hit full on and pummeled to the ground. Now, there were people around, and they saw it, they felt the ground shake, and I ran into my little house, my tree house, and I wrote a book. So the download I got from that lightning was so much information. I ran inside and wrote an entire book, which was small, but I just wrote it flat out. And I didn't stop. But it was, again, it was small, a very spiritual book. So in 2007, on September 27th, 2007, I knew something was coming. And so I was in a very also energetically special place. I'm not going to speak of details here because I think it's best just, I was in a special place on a sacred piece of land in a very special situation with many, many people, hundreds of people. And on that day, I basically was sitting there in meditation, and I said the words to myself, I'm ready. And I got hit by lightning. So in that experience, people moved away from me, and I got pretty crushed. Like, it was not fun. I mean, it was interesting, but it was painful. Okay, again, it's not that it's not painful. So after that happened, you know, I sat up because it pretty much pushed me down. And I said, is there anything else? And I got hit with a second bolt of lightning right then and there. And that one hurt a lot, and my spine cracked. I thought I broke bones. So that literally, even my friend said that was there, they backed away, but they said, oh, you know, the sound, we could hear the sound of your bones cracking. Oh. So I was still conscious, and very softly and quietly after I sat up, I said, is there anything else? And I got hit again. I got hit 3 times within like a minute and a half. Now, the third time I sat up, I was conscious, but I was in a very altered state. And I just very softly I said, is there anything else? And there was only silence. And there was this voice, you know, go and do the work. We are with you. That was all I heard.
Wow.
So on the 4th time I asked, there was no more lightning. There was this voice. And then again, it was unusual circumstances, so I'm not going to talk about the details, but there was a confirmation. After that, I was called up, you know, and basically that was the beginning of the work of the divine diamond. And it was, again, we are with you, go and do the work. So the interesting thing about the divine diamond, I'm like, what work? I was never told. So it's the beauty of the mystery of spirit. So I was never told. I'm thinking, well, you know, but I was told I needed to do this. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? So, you know, I go home after that and I'm thinking, you know, how am I going to do this? I was told to do something. And the phone rang. And the phone rang. And the people that called me wanted to come and go with me to where I was told I need to go. And I said, I have to go here. I was told I have to go here tomorrow. I need to bring like 9 people. I was like, and they all called me on the phone. And I told them I'm going there tomorrow and I need, you know, will you come? And they said, yes, we'll come. I've always wanted to go there.
Wow.
Talk about synchronicity.
Yeah.
So that at that point, that was the beginning. I still didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't know what it was. But there were further initiations, further things happened to me, further profound spiritual experiences, further difficulties in some of the way I was initiated by the Spirit. You know, again, and then after that, everything intuitively just came, and everything just intuitively, it's like, okay, it just happened. Next thing I know, I knew what to do, and I just started doing it. So that was the work of the Divine Diamond.
So este é o trabalho do Divine Diamond que ele vai também partilhar com a Gautami no workshop, no retiro de fim de semana de 29 e 30 de abril. Eu estou ansioso por ver o que é exatamente, porque agora estou curiosíssimo depois desta história fantástica que ele nos contou, partilhou connosco. Mas a técnica de ESP que desenvolveste também vais usar neste retiro. Este retiro vai ser um retiro recheado de coisas incríveis que eles vão partilhar connosco. This ESP technique that you developed and you're going to use also in this retreat, what is it about?
It's very okay.
Like very shortly,
yeah,
because we still have two questions. Okay. This and the next one.
You know, I was in an extraordinary circumstance. I went back to India right as COVID started. I arrived in India like March.
You were lucky.
Yeah, I arrived in India. Yeah, I went there. I was going for 3 months. I arrived there like March 11th, maybe 10th. And, you know, within a week, they closed the entire country.
Wow.
I mean, they closed all international flights. They locked India down.
So you were locked in the...
I got locked. Yeah. I got locked in. Yeah. Now, at that time...
I was here.
Oh, you were here.
Yeah. You know, at that time, I was already known internationally for my yoga. Okay, the special process that I created this own process. So I was already known for that. So I got to the ashram, but the ashram was with a particular type of yoga that you only could teach there. You know, that was, even though I was one of the original yoga teachers at the ashram. So they came to me and they're like, you know, Annirudhan, we want you to work. And they knew I was good with pain. I'm really good with physical body pain. I'm good at what I do.
They need you.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'd love to. What do you want? They said, you know, do something, you know, with pain and meditation, because they knew these are part of my gifts. So, and then they said, but you can't teach yoga. And I was just like, they said, you can't refer to yoga, you can't use anything like yoga, and we're going to come and watch, and if we see you do anything that looks like yoga, we're going to stop you. You're not going to be able to teach. And so they said, do you want to do the course, want to do workshops and teach? And I'm like, yes. They said, okay, write up what you're going to do. And I'm like, okay. So at that point, it was the most perfect thing and actually it was so beautiful, because I had to take everything I knew, all of my spiritual teachings, and all the background shamanism and vortex, you know, all these healing modalities I had, many modalities, all the training I had, and I had to do something which, you know, again, the breath works and everything, that wasn't yoga. And in a very quick period of time, I created this process I named it ESP, Energy, Strength, and Perception.
Energia, força e percepção.
Yes. So in the creation of that, I started working, you know, very interestingly, you know, half the class was women like 70 to 80 years old. Wow. Because they all had pain. They all knew me as pain. And they all came in and they were, you know, so I had these older women. I had 2 hunchbacks. I had someone that had a short leg. I had some really difficult women that came. And within a very short period of time of teaching this class, which again, I had to create my own system, we had their hunchbacks went away. They stood up straight. I mean, the physical transformation, we have the women that couldn't sit cross-legged end up sitting cross-legged. I had women that told me they could never sit and meditate because there was pain. They ended up being able to, they said, Annirudhan, I never thought I could sit and meditate. So I saw things happen in that class that were off the
With
charts
the ESP.
with the work that I created, ESP, using everything I knew, all in one. In my,
Já sabem,
oh, it was amazing.
ESP vai estar também no nosso retiro de 29 e 30 de abril. E olha, aqueles que têm problemas físicos podem beneficiar destes conhecimentos profundos.
Yeah, it's so that's how that happened. And that's the work I do today.
Wow.
And it's really about, like I say, grounding the physical body, you know, working through the physical body. And it's very breath oriented, and it's very, you know, energetic, like stretches and movements. And, you know, it's a very, very beautiful, very simple, but very profound. It's very effective. Yeah.
The last question.
Okay.
A água é uma das substâncias mais importantes que nós temos no planeta e no universo e que podemos utilizar para a purificação do organismo, equilíbrio e cura. E tu vais também ensinar fórmulas com água para as pessoas utilizarem individualmente neste retiro. I'm gonna translate.
I understand what you said. Yeah. Okay, so you know, again, because of the nature of the energetic field, I create containment fields. So obviously, when we're in a workshop, you know, we have an amplified field, which allows the formulas we make to be very specific to the workshop. Now, formula is just, again, like sending Reiki to a bottle of water or sending love to a bottle of water. Now, you know, anybody can do it, but you would say that the intention of which and how the concentration of the energy that you're able to transmit to the water will have a faster way of structuring the water. But we all know from Matsumoto's work, if you write love on water, it changes the water, right? So this is actually just working with, because you specifically have need for particular formula. Each person will be making formula that is appropriate for the workshop and themselves. I'll teach you how to do it. It's a very simple thing. And then obviously when you're home, you should always pray over your water. You should always pray before you eat. You should always be prayerful and intention when you're dealing with anything you're putting in your body. So it's really just helping you to see the beauty and the simplicity of making your own medicine, how to make your own medicine. And again, when we have the initiation you're going to get from the Divine Diamond, you will get an amplification field. You know, you'll get a structure in your system or an awakening of your DNA that will allow you to much more quickly transmit energy. Your healing potential abilities will increase once you're receiving this transmission of the Divine Diamond. Now, the last thing is there are tachyons.
Tachyons, yeah.
Now, I just want to mention tachyons because there was a point where, and this is a positive thing. If you think of a magnet is a piece of metal that's charged. Of course, they use electricity and they put a high voltage and it has a positive and a negative pull. So what does that mean? On one level, it's pulling in. On another level, it's pushing out. It has a toroidal field. So what is it doing? It's pulling in and it's pushing away.
Portanto, cria campo toroidal.
Yeah, yes. And it's a magnet, right? So now, tachyon is like a glass magnet. Now, I call them glass magnets because it's exactly that. A tachyon will draw tachyon energy to you. It will draw high-frequency light, what I call living conscious light. And it will push out the blockages, the lower frequencies. So the tachyon, like a magnet, is pulling in conscious living light, tachyon, which is like soul light, God light, and it's pushing out lower vibrational density, and it's doing that. So the tachyon is a very special tool because whenever you have it and you work with it, immediately, in most cases, people that get them, jobs come, opportunities come, people come. It attracts to you.
It's like a magnet.
Yes, it attracts. Yeah. Now, I call it a glass magnet as a description, just to give you an example of a description. But they're really amazing because they are communicational devices. They are helping you to communicate with your own soul energy, with the living light, so to speak, higher frequency, higher dimensional light. And they are helping to sort of push away the lower vibrations. Now, a tachyon is very simple. This is one. So this is an example of a tachyon.
You...
No, these come from a company called Tachyon. It's one of the original tachyons. This
Because
little
there is
blue,
many, there is many.
yeah, this is a blue
Jen.
glass tachyon. So it's blue.
All of them with the Taurus, with the...
Yeah, these are toroidal. Yeah. And then there's another one, which is a DNA activator. This one. And this one's really amazing.
Star.
A sun star. These
That's
are
very
amazing.
interesting.
Yes.
Very
Now they come in
That's
different
really
colors.
blend,
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, these are very interesting. So they come.
Amber.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because of all the Wi-Fi we get, all the. So I remember just to help me a little bit.
Shungit is not better than...
Oh, Shungit's great.
Also.
It's not that I don't have it. I just don't wear it, but I could have it in my pocket. Shungit, maybe you have to clean it a little bit.
Yeah.
Tachyons don't need to be cleaned. But the idea is when we use these tools, because we need all the help we can get in today's world.
In today's world,
Yeah.
yes.
So they're great to meditate with. We're going to do tachyon meditations. We're going to, they amplify the energy. And yes, I like Tachyon because they're using a high quality glass from a German glass factory outside of Munich. So it's an old factory that uses molten earth. It's not a imitation chemical glass. A lot of glass is plasticized these days. So this is a very quality company, and also I resonated very strongly with it. I feel the quality of it is very high, and they sell these, and I'm a distributor. But we just do it with people that come. We don't really try. We just have them, and we believe in them. Because like I said, yeah, I wear them, once in a while I'll take them off for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then when I put it back on, it's like, okay, because you get used to something.
Yeah.
If I wear them all the time, it's like, I can't quite tell.
Almost like an amulet. It's not an amulet, but it's...
No, it's like, so I sometimes will take them off just to have the experience so that when I put them back on, it's like, oh, I can feel my energy system. Yeah. And I've done Kirlian photography without a tachyon. And the second I touch it, my entire aura,
Really?
oh yeah, it changes at least on the photograph that was done, it was taking my tachyons off and taking a picture.
Interesting.
Taking the tachyon and touching it, and he immediately took a picture and it changed. And he was surprised. He wasn't expecting that.
Wow.
Because he didn't believe in it. So he was like, oh my gosh, because he immediately, as soon as I touch it, he took another picture. And he was very surprised to see the change.
So. Gautami, o que é que tu nos dizes do teu marido? O que é que tu nos dizes deste workshop e do teu marido? Destas valências todas, destes instrumentos todos que ele e tu também têm para partilhar neste nosso workshop especial, porque realmente eu não estava à espera que fosse tão completo o workshop, porque já tínhamos as coisas delineadas, mas não esperava que fosse tão profundo e que fossem instrumentos tão incríveis. O que é que nos tens a dizer, Gautami? Tiveste aí caladinho, ouvi tudo. Qual é o teu feedback?
Realmente, os workshops transformam pessoas. De facto, as pessoas saem com uma consciência completamente diferente. É claro que entram em processo, mas também é explicado nos workshops o que pode acontecer ou não.
Antes e depois, e durante. Não é?
Exato, porque de facto traz uma autorresponsabilização, não é? Sairmos do papel de vítima para realmente tomar consciência que isto é um processo e que realmente neste momento o que é mais importante para podermos ajudar a humanidade é realmente focarmos no nosso processo interno. Porque a nossa frequência vai impactar o outro. Então, é muito importante que nós realmente tenhamos esse compromisso connosco para podermos ajudar a humanidade e a todos, porque estamos aqui os três e estamos aqui a trocar energia.
Sem dúvida.
Então,
aliás, I feel you and you feel me, of course.
Então, isso é muito importante e mais nós vamos sentir que vamos encontrar a nossa tribo. Porque é a hora para realmente encontrarmos. Estivemos em hibernação, é importante também isso, trabalharmos e estarmos conscientes do nosso processo, mas agora a energia está-se a manifestar para realmente termos esta cooperatividade e começarmos realmente a mostrar realmente o que é necessário, que é esta conexão, esta sincronicidade e ajudarmos uns aos outros, com cada um tem para oferecer, para realmente podermos fazer algum papel importante nesta viragem, porque muita coisa vai acontecer.
Felizmente, muita coisa positiva.
Embora pareça que nos querem fazer
que nos querem
parecer ao contrário, estamos numa
mas
transformação. Não tem sido fácil.
Não tem sido fácil para nenhum, para os guerreiros da luz, não tem sido fácil.
Não tem sido fácil, mas também nós temos que experienciar, porque vai haver, as pessoas vão precisar de muita ajuda, de muita guia, não é?
De orientação.
E mais do que nós que experienciamos, podermos falar sobre isso, não é? Porque é muito fácil ler livros, não é? Mas o mais importante, que eu acho que é o melhor ensinamento, é de facto as próprias vidas. E o que é para mim não quer dizer que seja para ti. Cada um vai ser atraído para o que realmente vai fazer sentido para o seu processo individual.
Muito bem. It was amazing having you in our channel. It's amazing also having you in our retreat. Muito obrigado, Gautami e Annirudhan. Juntem-se a nós, já sabem, e inscrevam-se já neste retiro especial, especialíssimo, eu diria, de fim de semana de sábado e domingo, dias 29 e 30 de abril, com estes nossos convidados. E, como puderam ouvir, vai ser realmente imperdível. Por isso, reservem já o vosso lugar. Deixo-vos os contactos para a inscrição no retiro na descrição do vídeo. Esperamos por todos vocês em Angels Rock, onde se poderão banhar também em águas curativas naturais, rodeados de natureza e paz, e também beneficiar do forte vórtice energético deste local especial. Até à próxima quinta e lembrem-se de colocar um like e partilhar o nosso canal com os vossos amigos e nas vossas redes. Fiquem bem e até quinta.